Now, I'm very excited to introduce our next guests here on Chaos TV. In the studio with me now is Tracy, Annie, and if I say it very quietly, Holly. Nope, never mind. I have been heard. Hello. Yes, I see you down there, calming down a bit, bless her. It's from Cornwall Search Dogs. The charity began in 2020, set up by 5 founders, one of which, Annie, is here to tell us more. Now, I'm going to ask Tracy, were you also a founder?
Yes.
Lovely. Sorry, I just try to catch up with a few things. It's lovely to have you all here, all 3 of you. I will say hello to our furry friend down here. I can't help but be distracted.
Obviously.
Keep being very well behaved at the moment. I feel by saying that I'm tempting fate. So let me get straight on with the questions. Where did all this start? How did you guys and the rest of the founders come together to start the Cornwall Search Dogs?
Well, we all met through as members of previous search and rescue teams here in Cornwall. Although our chair, who was Cornwall based, is now up in Surrey, and he was more one of the Lowland rescue teams. But what we had our chair, who was very much into man trailing, which is the type of search that we do with our dogs, and we can talk about what that actually means a bit later on. And we kind of felt that there was a gap that we could fill in Cornwall with our dogs to be able to help find missing dogs, and then go on to our next step will be to get involved with the missing people searches as well.
I mean, it's amazing. Obviously, you're all previous members of, like I said, of rescue teams, as well as 2 of you being retired dog handlers. I can only imagine the knowledge that you have is invaluable for what you're doing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, as I say, we've got knowledge from being in part of previous rescue teams. You know, 2 of our members were police dog handlers, and 1 was part of the Met breeding dog team many years ago as well. So there's a huge amount of knowledge, and even with that, you still learn something new every day about either our dogs or each other's dogs or something else.
I can imagine it's interesting as well, especially with the learning, because they've all got their own personalities, haven't they? And not one thing that may work for one isn't going to quite work for another. So I can imagine there's some joy in that part as well, getting to know the dogs and you know, helping train them and discovering their personalities a bit more. So can I come to you, Tracy? What's the benefit of Cornwall Search Dogs? What's the aims overall?
So our aim is to use train dogs in order to help them to use the specific scent. Looking for people, they call it man trailing, where we look at people's individual scent, and so we train the dogs and their handlers to do that. But our purpose is to help find other missing dogs and to find missing people. Ultimately, we've just been on a independent course to do that, to help us to have additional skills to do that. So it's all about and we're all volunteers, so nobody's paid. And the individuals come to us with their dogs, and we assess to see whether they're able to do it, and have the nose for it, as they say. And so it's very sense specific. It's not. They don't go in and just do area scenting. They'll look for you particularly, which is really nice. Yeah.
It's so lovely that you give the time. Obviously, volunteers, like you said, dogs as well. That you go out and actually put in the time and effort to try and help people, try and help the animals. It's something so lovely when volunteers go that far to really try and help other people, and it's so lovely. Now, I want to turn our focus now to the dogs. Can you tell us about them? I've got 4 named here on my screen. I'm going to say one very quietly. We've got Maisie, Lexi, Tegan, and then of course we have Holly here. Yes, I think I nailed that one. I went completely unnoticed there.
Well, I'm proud of you. Yeah, I mean, we have the 4 dogs that we mentioned are operational dogs. So they're the dogs that are on the call-out list at the moment.
Okay.
And they all, as you say, they all have their own personalities. They all have their own way of working. They all have their own favourite rewards, because at the end of the day, what we do is very much for the dogs, it's a game.
Right.
It's for them to have some fun. That's what they see it as. They don't see kind of like as much as, we try and keep away any stress that we're feeling, because the dogs can pick up on it, but it's for them, it's a big game, and it means they get a lovely big reward at the end. So Holly, I think, is currently her favourite reward at the moment is mackerel, I believe. So having some mackerel.
Nice.
Lexi, her favourite reward at the moment is a mixture of tuna and sardines.
Nice.
Lexi, her favourite reward at the moment is mackerel. Nice. Lexi, her favourite reward at the moment is a mixture of tuna and sardines. Lexi, her favourite reward at the moment is a mixture of tuna and sardines.
So fish definitely on top of the menu here.
Yeah, it's very much so. That and squeezy cheese. I think Tega and Maisie are both squeezy cheese fans.
I'll train.
So yeah. And that's the thing. It's what, as you say, each dog is individual. So it's what will that dog work for?
Yes.
You know, what motivates that dog to kind of go, I'm going to ignore everything else, deer, rabbits, other dogs, people, everything else to just find this one scent that you've asked me to go and find.
Get excited down there. Oh, bless. I think it's the mention of food, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, Tracy, let me ask you this. How do you go about training the search dogs? You've both mentioned, obviously, about the courses that they've done. What's the actual process? How do you go about training a dog?
So we have quite a vigorous training program. So people have to do. What's the name of the course that they're doing with Andrew? And
It's the man training scent dogs.
They do the man training scent
do.
dogs initially, and that enables them, once they've done those qualifications, they're then able to then move on and do I've forgotten the name of the other
Man
one.
Training
British Man
Academy.
Training
Skills for
Academy,
Justice, yeah.
Skills for Justice
Wow.
stuff. So that's what we're doing at the moment. So we're doing that to enable us to work with looking for people.
Wow.
So that's the idea. And so people come, they have a probation period of up to 12 weeks initially. So just so that they can get to know us and we can get to know them. Are their dogs suitable for trailing? Are they in the right the mindset? Also, it's a charity, so there's a lot more work that goes on behind the scenes. Supporting the charity, doing all the charity work. So us 5 trustees have to do, as well as doing the actual work. We're all doing all the behind scenes charity work, fundraising, and all of these sorts of things that's required. So it's quite a big commitment for anyone to do.
It really is.
But it's ever so rewarding.
You have to excuse me.
You just want to give her a big hug.
I'm being stared at, and that's what's cool. Am I going to be leapt at? Am I going to be licked? like you said, though, quite a lot to be done, and quite some processes as well. What do you think the dogs feel about the process? Is it hard for them? Do they seem to respond well to it?
This is where we kind of, when we're testing out the dogs to see if they, and if we've got them from puppies, we start quite young. But actually, it's not for every dog. So every dog will use its nose in whatever way, but not every dog has the same drive or want to do it. So if that's the case, then that's not a dog that's going to be, they might want to go and do it for a little bit of fun, but you're not going to be doing it as we do it. So that's kind of that's the most important thing, the high drive for the dog. The dog has to want to do it, has to want to play that game. And that's why, the rewards are good and things like that. Because if they don't have that, then they're not going to take part. But that's, for us, is, that's where we kind of really come together and want to play those games with them.
Well, yeah, of course. I can imagine they get quite excited as well for certain things going on.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't bought mine one today. We bought Holly because she's slightly less loopy than some of the others. But the dogs are they're high drive, and as soon as I've put my kit on, like I've got my polo shirt on, I put my jacket on, my dog is at home bouncing because she's going, you're going out, have we got a call, or are we training, or are we doing, we're playing that game. So why aren't, and then she's like looking at me through the door going, why aren't I with you? So I've left her at home, and I'm sure my husband's having a lovely time she's working out why she's not coming. But that's the thing, as soon as we put our kit on, the dogs know, and they have specific kit that when we're working with them, that they only have for when we're trailing. So they know, as soon as this jacket comes on, it only comes on when I'm either out on a call or we're training, or obviously coming to the studio.
Course, yeah.
And she knows that, and so they all know that. They're all, and that's, for me, is the sign of a dog who really wants to do that work, because they're up, they know exactly what's going to be asked of them, and they want to come out that door with you, and that for me is absolutely fab.
I keep looking at both your gear, and I must say I do like it very much. You've got the high vis on it, you've got the very clear markings on it to show who you are, and it looks generally quite warm as well.
It is very warm.
It looks lovely.
And if you're a fan of pockets, I think it's got about 8 pockets on it, in all different places.
I'm sorted.
No, we always you carry a lot of kit and bits and pieces, so you want something that's got a lot of pockets. It's the simple things.
Perfect. Exactly. Tracy, can come back to you. Could you take us through the process of searching? Is there any correct sort of terminology or any terms that you use for this kind of searching, or any like kind of call outs you give to the dogs to let them know they're what you're trying to do, basically?
I think that the process is that we would obviously be called out, and we would expect that there would be a conversation with the person who has called us. So we work very closely with Lost Dogs Cornwall, and they often would have done some work with us if there's been a missing dog. And they'll call us, and we would ask them then to try to work with the owner, and we would speak to the owner to try and get an item of scent. So we want the item that the dog, and we look for we look for the specific scent item that's got the best scent from the dog or an individual if they're missing.
Of course.
Holly sit.
Oh, bless.
Holly
She's
sit.
decided
You know what they
I've
say-
been really good for at least.
You
5
know what they
minutes.
say, folks, never work with animals or children. Well, you know what, we like to break those barriers.
And so then once you've identified the item, you make sure that you keep it fresh. So we put it in a bag and keep it fresh as best as possible. We think about where the person or the dog was last seen, and that's where we go. We go to the last point of scene with our dogs, and when we're there, we then harness our dog up, get our dog all ready, and we would present them with the scent. And the dog is then on a harness with a 10-metre line. Some people have shorter lines or longer lines, but the majority is about 10 metres, isn't it? And so we work them with a 10-metre line, and we give them the opportunity to. We say to them, just be careful here. We say to them to take scent, and
Okay.
then we would say to them,
Well done.
then we would say, go find. And so then they would they would start to, but that's the terms that I use, but other people use different terms with their dog. They
Right.
might just say seek, or find, or,
Yeah.
and then the dog does its work, and it's just amazing. It's amazing to watch. It's humbling at times. I mean, I've been absolutely so proud to be part of this team, and the dog just, you can be in the most contaminated places on a busy road with lots of people. We work in all sorts of places or in very barren areas, and the dog, all of a sudden it takes scent. Our job is to know when it's taken scent. Mm-hmm. So it's like, yes, it's on a trail, it's trailing now, we know it's trailing, and then we will follow the dog. And
Yes.
literally, and one of our things that we say to each other sometimes, if we think, we might say, the person wouldn't have gone over there, or they wouldn't have gone in there, and it's like, no, trust your dog.
Yeah.
Trust your dog. Your dog knows. So the part of the training is to look at all the indicators that your dog gives you to say that it's on a trail. You know, where is his head? What, you know, is his nose to the ground? How does his ears lay? What does his tail do? You know, does his body go a little bit lower? All sorts of stuff. There's loads of little indications that say to you that the dog is working.
Wow.
Or that the dog doesn't know. So that's the other thing. We need to know when the dog doesn't work. So the dogs come to the end of a trail. So part of our training the other day was that we had to trail somebody who'd actually got into a car.
Oh,
So then
okay.
the objective at the end of that was that the dog would turn around to you and say, well, I've come to here, but there's no scent anymore.
Wow.
So then we can say, well, we believe that the scent's gone. Now, it could be that the person's got in a car, it could be that the person's got on a bus, or, you know, so that's the objective.
Makes sense. Oh, lovely. I love how you had to cover her ears just to explain. That shows how well trained she is. Now, Annie, I'm going to come back to you if that's all right. What advice would you have now for someone who's lost their dog? What would be the first thing to do?
First thing to do is absolutely be really careful about shouting a lot.
Okay.
Now, it's very counterintuitive, but if a dog has run and you've got the first few minutes to call them, but after you start getting past that time, the dog can start just getting scared of every noise.
Right.
So even if it recognises your voice or whatever else, it can start getting spooked.
Okay.
So put some articles down where you last saw the dog. Try and keep somebody where you last saw the dog, because 9 times out of 10, they do actually work their way back round to the place they were last seen.
Okay.
Get onto Dog Lost Cornwall
Right.
Get it up onto Facebook. It's an amazing crew. I mean, they've got the 3 of them who do the admin, but everybody who kind of likes and follows their page will share that post, will come out and help search if they're in the area. I mean, it's an amazing group of people. They will then advise you of all the best things to do for your circumstances.
Okay.
So each can be a little different, but really, get an item of clothing down somewhere so that your scent is starting to waft around, so the dog can start to come and get it. And we've kind of, if it's been a little while, then actually going out and grilling some chicken and sausages in that area. It sounds silly, but the dogs kind of go, thank you very much, I'll come back for some food.
I'm hungry.
But the main thing is really, I think the first thing is to try and stay calm yourself. Stay in the area that you last saw the dog, because, as I say, a lot of the time those dogs will circle round, depending on the reason that they've run.
Right, okay. I'm with you. Well, I mean, great information. I especially, like I said, not to shout too long after, because I would be one of those people who would just be shouting and shouting and shouting and shouting. Thank you very much, both of you, for coming in. We're not obviously quite done yet. We've got some photos now from your social media. Can I ask you to take a look at these photos and tell us a little bit about what's going on?
Yeah. So this is one of our trainee dogs. I think all these ones are going to be our trainee dogs. And this is a dog called Perrin. And she is on the trail. She's just starting off. And I think she's about to come into the person that she was finding, because she's looking very keen. And normally these pictures are taken when you've got the person who's hiding with the camera trying to get a picture as they come in. So so Perrin's a little spaniel. This is Tegan. So this is one of our operational dogs with John in the background there, who has come in and she's found the person. So you can see with the line there, sometimes we'll be a little further back because normally when the dog gets quite close, they'll proximity alert, which means they get a little bit faster and a little bit stronger and a little bit more, wow, I'm coming in. And Tegan's getting her reward.
Oh, bless.
There in that
Can I just say, someone in the studio is taking a great keen interest in these.
So this is another one of our little trainee dogs who's actually a pup. This is Indy, and she's not quite a year old yet. And she's with Jenny, who's one of our trustees and founders, who owns Maisie, who is 11 years old now. So she's kind of coming. Wow. Well, we keep trying to retire her, but she refuses to be retired off. So Maisie, as soon as Jenny picks up anything, Maisie's kind of going, I'm coming. But this is Indy, who's her new dog that she'll be bringing through.
Perfect.
Lovely. Yep, this is Sable, which is one of our trainee dogs, and they've started on their journey now through the training, through man training scent dogs, so they're doing theory work. Obviously, Sable's not doing the theory work. Jason is doing the theory work, the handler, and that's what that involves. So they're now kind of starting on to work through the different levels to be able to come operational. So that's Sable, who's very lovely, who will come in. And there she is. She's got her toy to play with. So some dogs will have a toy, some will have food.
Okay.
It's absolutely dependent on what the dogs prefer. At the end of the day, all the dogs are kind of checked out that they are happy with people, that they'll come into people, that they're very safe and will play and have a game. So, and I think that's Perrin again. We're back to Perrin. So so Perrin's one of our trainees. But what you can see from these pictures as well is the sorts of places where we train. So that was obviously open moorland kind of thing, quite open. We work in woods, we work urban. So, if somebody went missing from a house or a dog went missing from its garden sometimes, we can start in any area.
Right, okay.
All we need is a scent article for that particular dog or person. And that's that, and we can go from there.
Perfect. Well, I want to say thank you to all three of you, Tracy, Annie and Holly. Quietly. Thank you so much for coming in, taking the time to come in and chat about everything. Could you tell us, though, where can people go for more information about Cornwall Search Dogs or to support you guys?
Right, well, there's a couple of different places. There's information on the website, which is cornwallsearchdogs.org. Some of the best places for up to date for where we put a lot of our posts and what we've been doing and what we're up to is on Facebook, which again is Cornwall Search Dogs. You can also find that on Instagram. I would say Twitter, but I'm rubbish at putting stuff on Twitter, so please don't expect too much if you go onto Twitter.
I'm like that.
But yeah, so it's. But if if you're looking to help donate, then we have a Just Giving page, which is justgiving.com Cornwall Search Dogs. Basically, just look up Cornwall Search Dogs, and you will find us everywhere. Hopefully. But if people want to get in touch, if they want to help, volunteer, it's not just about the dog handlers. We also have dog support, so they're people who will come on call out who support the dog handlers and the dogs. People in the background doing administration, helping with social media. These are all kind of roles that people can take on. So it's not just for people who want to be out and about with the dogs. There's also, if people want to be involved, but for whatever reason they want to be out necessarily in all the lovely Cornish weather that we have. There's lots of stuff we could really do help with for sort of on the back office administration side.
That's brilliant. Well, thank you all three of you for coming in. Hopefully we can have a catch up again another time.
Yeah, that would be lovely.
It would be lovely. Thank you all three for taking the time to come in.